Hello and welcome to another Song from the Witch's House. As you can see today, I have positioned myself next to my Gothic drinks cabinet. I'm going to get David to show you some of the footage that I've taken of this rather magnificent piece of furniture. And I suppose the reason why I thought it was appropriate to sit next to this piece of furniture today is because I guess the theme of the song that you've just heard is what's your poison? Because it's all about poisoning. So first of all, I'll tell you about this piece of furniture and then I'll go on to talk about the song. So as you know, I have a love of all things Gothic. The more Gothic, the better. It would be my dearest wish to be able to live in a converted church or a chapel, and I'm sure all my nice Gothic pieces of furniture would fit in their retreat. Anyway, I first saw this piece of furniture, it was before the lockdown and it was in an auction, and I saw it and I really liked it. And I had a lot going on in my life at the time. I think it was when my mum had just become ill. And I totally forgot about the auction and I forgot to bid. And I thought, I've missed out on that nice piece of furniture that I liked. Anyway, somebody once said to me a long time ago, what you're meant to have will never pass you by. And spring forward a few years till just after the lockdown, and I was going back to the auctions and I saw that this piece of furniture was in the auction again, and I looked at the listing and it was described as a Gothic hall chair. This shelf wasn't in it. I've put this shelf in it, so it was just the lower shelf. And I thought, a hall chair, who apart from Warwick Davis would fit in that? I think they got it wrong. I think it was always meant to be some kind of shelving unit that maybe went on top of a base unit. But anyway, I decided that I was going to have a go and see if I could obtain this piece because I liked it so much. And I think I ended up getting it for £140. I watched the auction right to the end because by then they were doing the auctions online, and I just bid until I got it basically. And I think £140 was a steal because this is solid oak and it takes about 3 people to lift it. I am known for doing things on impulse, and I did bid on this piece of furniture without actually knowing what I was going to use it for. I just liked it so much. So I stuck it in the dining room for a few weeks while I thought about it, and then I had a little rejig, and I decided, because I didn't have a proper drinks cabinet at that time, I decided that I was going to use it to store alcohol, which is kind of ironic because I don't really drink, but I have lots of friends who do, and some of them quite heavily. We do always get together every New Year's Eve and other times as well, but on New Year's Eve we always make cocktails. I don't mind trying the odd cocktail. And I like to think now that I've got every ingredient that is needed to make the cocktails. So yeah, I had this shelf put in. I had some oak up in the attic that had come from a roll-top writing desk that had been water damaged, that had belonged to Jim. And I kept some pieces of it, and Jordan, my carpenter, was able to put the shelf in. So I've now got 3 shelves plus the top to store all my alcohol. And this shelf is quite deep. It's probably not the best design for a drinks cabinet because these bottles are 4 deep and I'm always taking everything out to get to the right thing. But I just absolutely love it. I love the carvings. I love the quatrefoils. It's got these little roses on the top. It's got some Latin writing on the bottom. I mean, it's right up my street. So I've got all the different spirits and all the different bottles. On the top, I have placed all the decanters that I inherited from my mum and stepfather, and I was thinking, great, that's another row of alcohol. So I took all my bottles of tequila and vodka and gin and I put all the spirits inside these decanters, had the little silver labels on them, and I just finished doing that. It took me a few days when I came across this article on YouTube, and somebody was explaining how lead crystal decanters are okay for pouring. So if you've got a bottle of wine that you've opened up and you want to use it up in the next couple of days, they're okay for pouring, but they're not okay for storing. And that's because apparently some of the substances and alcohol will react with the lead inside the lead crystal and make the lead filch out into the alcohol. And then I suppose you will be ingesting lead. And as we know, you can die of lead poisoning. So I just finished filling up all these decanters and throwing away the bottles. And then I realised that actually I'd done the wrong thing. And even though I don't drink, I just didn't feel comfortable thinking that I could be serving up a drink from a decanter to one of my friends and giving them lead. So I ran to the bottle recycler to retrieve as many of the bottles as I could. And I emptied all the decanters back into their bottles, but I couldn't find all the tops. So like this tequila, I've had to put a cork in the top because I couldn't find the lid for it. So yeah, so that is a little bit of information that you might want to remember. If you've got lead crystal decanters, they're okay for pouring, but not for storing, because you don't want to get lead poisoning. So yeah, that brings me on then to the song that you've just heard. The song we've called Lily of the Valley, and I know that we have written in the past a lot of songs that have been inspired by the countryside or various flowers. You know, we've written about bluebells and snowdrops, and the promise of spring mentioned various things from nature. But Lily from the Valley, although we are at the time of year when the lilies of the valley are just about to come out, it's not actually about the flower. Well, not as such. I based it on a central female character called Lily, and she's from the valley because she's from a very dark place. She has a very dark heart. And I wrote this song back in 2016, and I was basically inspired by a story I read in the newspaper about a lady who tried to bump off her other half by contaminating his wine with antifreeze. And apparently that is a really dreadful thing to do, because there's something in the antifreeze that attacks your optic nerve and you can literally go blind drunk. There's my clock going off again. So yeah, and then more recently, I was reading about a lady in Australia who served up a meal where she'd been allegedly mushroom picking, but she'd picked some really deadly poisonous toadstools. And most people in her family died, and she didn't. And I don't think they believe that it was an accident. I think she's now in prison somewhere. So, you know, all those sorts of stories got me thinking about the everyday poisons that we can find in our garden. My next door neighbours used to grow monkshood, those pretty blue flowers that come out in the summertime. But reading about those, they're also called wolfsbane and aconite. I think monkshood is the most popular name because they look like a cowl that a monk puts over its head when they're in bloom. But they're absolutely deadly. Even if you handle them, it's possible for some of the toxins to be absorbed through your skin. And if you handle too much of them, you can die of a heart attack or have heart attack-like symptoms. So I did some research, and there are lots of things that you can find in nature and in your garden quite readily that are deadly if you ingest them. I've mentioned yew berries before, mistletoe, that is something which is deadly, narcissus bulbs. So I took all of these deadly poisons and I wove them together into my lyrics. So the story is then that this lady called Lily is looking out into her garden one day, and she spies her other half with another woman, and she thinks the worst. And obviously something inside of her just turns, because she invites him round for a meal and then she serves him up all of these deadly dishes. So I talk about laburnum bread and toadstool soup. How do the lyrics go? Let me see if I can remember. There's poison in my garden where I saw you meet with her. It caused my heart to harden. Now I'm grinding my larkspur. This meal I've made for you, love, toadstool soup, laburnum bread, a goblet laced with foxglove, and I need to see you fed. You berries, mistletoe, this enticing fruit medley will give your skin a white glow. Every morsel is deadly. I'll watch the clock go tick-tock, and I'll smile as you devour narcissus bulb and hemlock. Now you'll wilt before the hour. Quite soon you'll be a goner as you double up in pain. Was it the belladonna or the aconite champagne? I won't receive a pardon, I will swing for all I've done. My grave shall be my garden, where I'll nourish like the sun. And folk will tell the story of the corpse that lies beneath, the power and the glory of the flowers in my wreath. So I kind of liked the idea of ending it with this image of a wreath, obviously full of flowers and full of the same flowers that had caused his downfall and ultimately hers. So I like stories that kind of go full circle. So that was the poem that I wrote, and I got together with David in 2016, I think it was. It might have been 2015. And I basically said, you know, that I had this idea for a very dark song. So I wanted the melody and all the sounds in it to kind of echo that. And I think he was very clever. He picked me out some sounds that I think sound like a sinister country garden. And obviously it's quite repetitive because it's telling a story. And he would say it's one of my dirges, one of my funeral dirges, but that kind of fits it somehow. David says all my songs are dirges. Which, you know, is not far from the truth. But anyway, this is Lily of the Valley. It's a very dark tale, very dark song, and I did lots of research about horticultural things in order for my lyrics to be accurate. This song comes with a health warning. I don't want anybody out there making any of these concoctions because they are deadly. All joking aside, you have to be very careful what you put in your mouths. And I'm very careful about what I grow in the garden. I'm always frightened the dogs might pick something up, so I wouldn't have monkshood. I have got some foxglove, but I'm very careful with it. And I've also got a pretty laburnum tree, and the seeds from that can be deadly. So yeah, so that's Lily of the Valley. So as usual then, all our songs are available on Bandcamp should you want to purchase them. Please do like and subscribe, or leave us a comment, because it's always nice to hear what people have thought of our stuff, even if you haven't liked it very much. I normally say a few words about gemstones and jewellery to fit in with the time of year. This song I believe is going out in April, so it might even be May. I think it's April. So April is still the month of diamonds, and I've got my mum's diamond engagement ring on, and I've got an Art Deco diamond ring that I bought. So yeah, so thank you once again for listening, and until we meet again on the next full moon or new moon, some witchy magic is coming your way.